but him just saying that everybody has an APAC guy, I think it is insane. And I'm wondering, has there ever been this kind of level of exposure of the Israeli influence in our government before, or are we in a new realm where all of a sudden, the veil, the curtain's been drawn back, and we can see, Doctor Oz behind there pulling cranks and levers.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where we're at, or?
Well, I mean, for people who paid attention, this was known going back decades. Um, I think one thing that's different is again that, well, Tucker Carlson again is he was the single most had the single most popular show on Fox News, and it was a show that it was watched by conservatives, right, in general, and I think not entirely probably, but in general, and yeah, he's drawing the veil, and 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 showing it to us. So it's encouraging that this is happening. It's encouraging that the one guy who didn't have an APAC guy, in other words, Thomas Massie, um, he was told, like all these other people, you said, yeah, you could write this paper. It's like he's called it a term paper, and he said, I'm not doing this. Why should I do this? I don't like writing papers. So he never cooperated from the start. He never took that first step. But and then he's recently has been quite open about his opposition to these various efforts now to provide unconditional support to Israel. He's stood resolutely against it. He says recently what there have been. Just in the last month, there were 14 votes on Israel.
Or even
It's
more.
just
I think he
obscene.
said 18,
Okay, 18. Yeah, more
16 or
than
18, I forget. But
Yeah, yeah. But it was more than
more
there were
votes on
votes on.
America.
You're right.
Yeah, more
Exactly.
votes on Israel than there are about America, from
Right.
by our
Right.
Congress. Isn't that
Right.
crazy?
Right. And he voted
Yeah.
against every single one of them. Every single one of them.
Mm.
Recently, there was a primary in his district, and APAC poured a lot of money into it. I think it was $700,000, which is a lot for it's a small district, a rather poor district. He doesn't have a lot of money himself. He's not. He doesn't. He's not the kind of guy that lobbyists like and support because he never supports their pet projects. Um, but it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. But he ended up winning with 70% of them. It wasn't even close. And what that I find very encouraging. Just the fact that okay, this is a conservative rural district in Kentucky, and APEC pointed some of its big guns there, and in general, it's just the establishment press, including the conservative established press, has made him out to be an enemy, but it didn't make a difference to those people. And that just reminds me of what happened with it was Walter Jones in North Carolina or Ron Paul in Texas. Again, they represented very conservative districts, and they were, you could say, they had the most radical anti-war foreign policies of anybody, just about anybody in the Congress. And they were representing these conservative districts. And again, the neocons went after Walter Jones, and they went after Ron Paul again and again, and never made any difference. It's like the local people said, this guy is good, and we support him. And it just what it tells me is that, yeah, the elite is corrupt. Um, but yeah, what it is these foreign policy positions, and I think we're seeing the same thing in Europe. These are elite obsessions. They have virtually no grassroots support. It's not that the people are asking for this and the politicians are responding. And sometimes you can get opinion polls that maybe will show that a majority of people support um, um, support Ukraine or in favor of sending more weapons or whatever. But I think that is actually just very shallow. They're just responding to what they see on TV. It's not something that they are asking for. It's just that they are reflecting to a certain extent elite opinion. But when you have somebody brave like Thomas Massie or Ron Paul or Walter Jones, you um, the people listen, and they're very easily persuaded that no, we don't need to send weapons to these places. No, we don't need to get involved in these wars. I mean, the devotion to these various conflicts is not coming from the people. It's again, it's an elite obsession, and I think that gives us some reason to hope.